A lot of progressives, Democrats, are highly critical of Attorney General Merrick Garland, saying he is unfit for the job, unable to do so, has not prosecuted or indicted Donald Trump, saying that they have good reason to do so. Now they're angry that after Rachel Maddow reported that Garland is abiding by what Bill Barr said, no sort of indictment before the election, so there's no particular impact. Well, today, Garland was asked a number of questions. He reiterated that no one, including Donald Trump, is above the law and could very well be indicted. But he talked also about this massive investigation that they're undertaking and why it's taking so long. Take a listen.
A January 6th question. You have said time and time again that your approach is to move from the bottom up and to go where the evidence leads you. Recently, people have posited alternative ways of going about this. One of them is called the hub and spoke notion of sort of targeting a group of people around President Trump and then considering the rioters as one spoke, and also looking at the elector scheme as another spoke. Can you just explain to us if there was a decision point early on in which you decided to go the way that you did, why you rejected these other potential paths? And as a follow-up, have you seen anything either coming out of Fulton County in Georgia or anything out of the January 6th committee that has moved the investigation in a new direction?
So there are a number of assumptions based into the leading question. I'm very familiar with as a former trial lawyer, but there is a lot of speculation about what the Justice Department is doing, what it's not doing, what our theories are, what our theories aren't, and there will continue to be that speculation. That's because a central tenet of the way in which the Justice Department investigates, a central tenet of the rule of law, is that we do not do our investigations in public. This is the most wide-ranging investigation and the most important investigation that the Justice Department has ever entered into. And we have done so because this effort to upend a legitimate election, transferring power from one administration to another, cuts at the fundamental of American democracy. We have to get this right. And for people who are concerned, as I think every American should be, about protecting democracy, we have to do two things. We have to hold accountable every person who is criminally responsible for trying to overturn a legitimate election, and we must do it in a way filled with integrity and professionalism, the way the Justice Department conducts investigations. Both of these are necessary in order to achieve justice and to protect our democracy.
Just one follow-up. Do you think you have enough resources to do that? We know that the budget request that was made earlier this year was not complied with. Do you feel that you need additional resources?
The Justice Department would always like additional resources and would be happy to take them, but we are going to accomplish our mission here. The people in the Justice Department are committed to this. They are working 24/7 on this.
I think I'll start with you. Do you still have faith that Attorney General Merrick Garland is up for this task? A lot of people think he's frankly failing.
Whose name did you say?
I said, do you still believe that he's
Me?
up
No, I didn't
for
hear.
this task?
Were you talking to me?
Yeah. I said, Monique, do you believe that Merrick Garland do you believe that Merrick Garland is up for this task? Many people, I keep hearing more and more people say that he has failed thus far. He is not being aggressive enough. He's being too passive, that he needs to be far more aggressive and moving against Donald Trump and others.
Yeah. I mean, and the people who are saying it, have never been attorney general. And most of them have never been senior assistant attorney generals. They've never been line attorney generals. They haven't been secretaries in the Justice Department. They're not career criminal prosecutors who have had to do this type of investigation. And in any other circumstance, their common sense would ride out and they would know that something like this can take years, not a year, years. Like you can be investigating a citizen for bribery, and the paper trail is so thick in order to make the case, to make it a through line from the people who very obviously did certain actions all the way to where the top is. And as he said, to do it with integrity. But you've got a man like Merrick Garland, who frankly just has a good amount of experience doing this exact thing. And it's probably that this country is so used to this trigger happy way of running the country that was the Trump administration, where they spoke before they knew the answers. When they didn't have the answers, they lied about the answers. They took executive actions, so-called executive actions, and it was thick binders full of white paper. Everything about it was fraudulent, was rushed, was not prepared. So returning to normalcy and trying to, and it's obvious that work is being done because there have been charges after charges after charges, and it's obvious that they're going further up. You don't start with the biggest fish without anybody to prove it. You work, you crack the smallest nut possible, and then you either get people to give you as much information as they can to lead you to the next one. You go up the rung, you arrest those, or you make the deals with those, and you go from there. So I really do think the people who are saying these things, one, are ignoring what's right in front of them, and two, are so lacking in experience about how to do what he's doing and have no clue what's actually happening in the investigation, because they're running a tight ship and it's on lock. So these people need to be left to do their jobs. The House and is doing its job, and they're doing a bang up job over there. And the investigative committee. So I believe that there are two paths that at some point will end up working together, but that in short, maybe not short order, we will see significant charges from the higher ranks of the Trump administration. And I do believe that Steve Bannon will ultimately cooperate. That's my theory on Steve Bannon. I think he's a self-preserver.
Jason, do you believe that Merrick Garland is moving too slow, or that he is moving at the right pace? Your assessment.
So my assessment is so there are signs on both sides of this. First of all, I agree with Monique that these investigations take time and that things need to be done. And he gave a very measured answer. It made me disappointed that he's not on the Supreme Court where he should be. But at the same time, some of the things that have been coming out, for example, that the Justice Department has demanded a lot of the documentation that the Congressional Committee has collected. And some people feel as though you should already have that. You should have a lot of this information. You shouldn't be getting it from Congress. Now, I think he's done a really good job. And he's been impartial and fair, and kudos to the Biden administration for staying out of the Justice Department's way, not trying to influence it like we saw in the last administration. And I think sometimes when we jump out there, many of us in the media, we like to, get quick stories and get quick answers to everything. And that can be a mistake. I think that's, to be honest, this may upset some people, but I think that was one of the mistakes we made with Russiagate, when we were like, Trump's in Russia's pocket and we had all this evidence, and, the night after night on some of the big networks, you heard about it, and then they couldn't prove it in the long run. So I think taking your time and not jumping to conclusions is a good thing. And Merrick Garland, I think, is, in the good sense of law and order, is a law and order kind of guy. He hasn't interrupted that investigation in Delaware of Hunter Biden. Many people think, he would have shut that down because he's a Biden appointee, but that's not what he's done. He lets his attorneys do their jobs and to work these things through. And I agree that this is a big, enormous case where it's going to take a whole lot of work, a whole lot of due diligence, and you cannot just indict the former president of the United States without very solid evidence.
Roland, can I add something?
Robert, hold
Okay.
up. Hold up. After Robert. But Robert, we've had numerous legal analysts say they presented enough evidence already to indict Donald Trump.
There's no such thing as enough evidence. Anybody who's ever tried a case always knows that enough evidence is always more evidence. And this idea that you need to speed run this trial, understand this will be the most significant prosecution since the Nuremberg War Crimes Tribunal. We're talking about the indictment and the trial of a former United States president, but not just a former United States president. All of the other people involved in this conspiracy. So his chief counsel, you'll see an indictment with Rudy Giuliani, Jenna Ellis on it. You may see other cabinet officials, maybe the attorney general, chief counsel to the president, General Flynn, on down the line. This could end up looking like the Nuremberg war trials, war tribunals at the end of the day. And so when you're going at a case like that, you can't miss. As Omar from The Wire said, if you're going to come for the king, you best not miss. Imagine what would happen if you rushed this and, as Jason said, ended up not being able to secure a conviction in the case. You've just set the country up for a civil war at that point in time. You already have about a third of the country that wants to succeed at any point in time, and the idea of their president being prosecuted and then acquitted at the end of the day might set them off. So you need to take every moment that you can, gather every piece of evidence. If you're going to go to trial with President Trump, you need to make sure that you have that conviction ready, lock, stock, and two smoking barrels. And right now, Merrick Garland is saying, I'm waiting until I get all of the information in. I do not want to rush this, because if I am wrong, that could indeed destabilize the very fabric of the country. So by all means, take your time on this one.
Okay. Monique, real quick.
Yeah, I was just going to say, people assumed that the reason the Justice Department wanted the information that the Congressional Committee collected was because they didn't have that information. But it's really, in any number of circumstances, the fact that they want to make sure that what was said to Congress is the same as what was said to them. Because I can name quickly at least 10 people who we've seen testimony from in Congress that also spoke to the Justice Department, like way last year, spoke to them and continued to speak to them. So it's not a question of the Justice Department not talking to everyone they need to talk to. If they learn of somebody new, that's different. But they're looking at two different things that are both, one that's under oath and one that may have been just speaking by cooperation, and trying to see if there's more there, or if lies have been told, or if a perjury charge is possible, or if there's different information or follow-up. So,
all right, folks, back to that Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches. I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?